Usually it's an influence when you're young and you want to visualize it later. So when I was about 10, my mother was Southeast Regional Director of Women's American Order in Michigan. Okay, ORT, teach them instead of just giving charity. So ORT went ahead and built 22 schools in Ethiopia, 3,000 students, teaching them about Judaism, and they already knew about it. I went ahead and sold the most turtles so I could miss school, and I knew we were building the school in Ambabar, and I knew that there was a synagogue in Ambabar. My grandparents were great travelers and would show us pictures of the Jews in Cochin, India. I was going to go to Ethiopia and say, these are all Jewish. Help them. Let's make them sustainable. Let's make them happy. Let's remember they're part of us. And I thought this was going to be groundbreaking news. So I go to Gondar, and I met the customs agent in Addis Ababa, and they say, don't go to Gondar, it's pouring rain. And I'm like, I already checked, there's almost drought, I'm going to Gondar. And I did not say, I have to visit the Jews, they're waiting for me, I didn't do any of that. I go ahead and I take off rather than going to Lalibela. I land on a little field. They moved 2 or 3 cows to let us land. And you saw those baskets that I have, they were woven out of goat skin. Most everyone had them, that's their knapsacks. I get into the hotel, Goa, in Gondar. Have you been to Goa Hotel? Yeah, big, massive Russian, ugly hotel. No one's there, no staff, no people. Army troops are marching by. Okay, there's a war in Eritrea, but I thought we were far enough away. It was a really eerie feeling. And I go ahead and check in, and it was the first time that they took our passport. And I said, when am I getting back? They had broken English. I didn't think I was getting it back. I was really concerned. And then we go to our room, and there was a saying that says, you can either have dinner at 6 or take a bath. And there was also a note saying, it's punishable by law if you wash your clothes in the sink. So I figure we're really dealing with heavy-duty areas way out in a hillside village. Gondar, at one point, was the capital of Ethiopian area, the empire. And I guess they had instituted many different beliefs, and they had the Coptic church there that they wanted us to visit. All I wanted to do was to see the Jewish villages, and they didn't let me do that. They made my trip last 4 days. I was supposed to be 2 days to see 2 to 3 villages, and I knew something was going on. I see a woman at the corner of my eye. She's dressed in fatigues. I figured, what other woman's dressed in fatigues? She must be an Israeli army soldier. I run up to her and say, is something going on? I'm scared. Help me. She looks at me like she doesn't understand a word. And then later on I go, you know? I figure she must be a Sabra. She's there to protect me. Nothing. Blank, blank. So we go ahead and keep doing what they're doing. I have no passport. I'm edgy. We're looking for roots. You know the area. We look pretty barren. Not a lot of food out there. Not a lot of vegetables. No cows like I thought. I thought these people were living off the land. And I said, I really got myself into a weird situation. At that point, the next day, finally, we're on day 3. I was only supposed to be there 2 days. A guard comes with a big gun and says, you're coming with us. And I'm like, oh my God, this is it. Thank goodness there was a guy who spoke somewhat English. He says, I will take you to the Beta Israel. Then it was the Phalashus. I will take you there. I see these children. They're thrilled to see us. I see the brick school. I made it to Amsterdam in the synagogue. And he says, that's what they use every Friday night. I said, oh, we use that for Rosh Hashanah. We use that on the high holidays. He says, no, that's how we get all our village people to the synagogue. They used it. They did not have a WhatsApp. There were no phones. This is how they lived. They then showed me a menstruation hut and a birthright hut. Did you have that when you were growing up? I was like, what's going on? This is the place that the women went to when they had menstruation. And it was all so different than what I ever expected. The Hez was very nice. He showed me a Torah. He showed me that they do have a Hanukkah. The Hanukkah only had 7 branches. Why 7 branches, I asked. They said, well, we don't recognize the destruction of the second temple. So I felt that I went back 200 years, 300 years. At this point, I felt that I made a connection with the kids. You saw those pictures, you saw they looked happy, but there was still something in the air, something that wasn't right. And I wanted to see one of their homes. They said no. They said that the women do prepare the food and feed the men first, and then they eat. So there was a whole different way of thinking than I was accustomed to. And they were nice. I bought all those black African crafts. You saw some of them. They burned them right there, and they had told me that the Ort School had taught them trades, and that if any of the kids were dressed Western, those were the kids who were able to do a little bit of outside work, menial jobs. Otherwise, these kids, their life was stuck in this village. And I felt for them. I gave whatever toys, money, whatever thing I could give. A few of them came up to me and said, "Mommy, when are we going home?" And I was like, I have more toys. And I wished I could have done more at that moment. I go back to the hotel and I still say, "Can I have my passport? When am I leaving?" And there was no answer. I go to dinner and there's that woman who I'd seen at the corner of my eye in fatigues. I go up to her and I'm like, I'm scared. What am I doing? What am I doing here? Where are we going? She says nothing. She just says go. So they give you a little soup, a sandwich, and I go ahead. I said, "Please, something." And she goes like this, as if she's lighting Shabbat candles. I get the chills. That was my notice to be quiet, follow suit, and something will occur. I have no idea what, but I have my faith in her, and I had my faith in my gut, and I saw those kids were okay in the villages, so maybe I'm going to get out of here, and maybe everything's okay. 2 o'clock in the morning, I get a knock. A man comes. It was the man who's probably the chef, probably the one who took my registration, and I think he gave me one drink as being a bartender. So he came and said, "She wants you to come now." I said, "Good, I'll pack up. We're getting out of here." "Great, there's probably a plane waiting for me." He says, "No, leave your luggage." And I'm like, okay, pretty weird. I mean, imagine right now this room completely dark. You don't know where you're going, what you're doing, who you're being with, and that's the room I walked into, a completely dark room. Somebody had a flashlight, and I look around, and there's a sea of Ethiopians. Looks like the Beta Israel. Looks like the kids that I saw at school. There they are in this great big hangar, and I'm going, what are we doing here? She comes through with her fatigues on. This woman who I've been begging for assistance finally comes through crying, hugging other Ethiopians dressed in their natellas, and says to me, "This is my family. I haven't seen them for 25 years. I was as scared as you, and we're going home." And I'm like, "We're going home? Okay, I'm going home. Where's my passport? What are we doing?" She goes, "No, we're walking to the Sudan." And I said, I didn't wear the right clothes for that. I don't think I have my walking boots. My luggage is still at the hotel. She says, "I will send a plane for you as long as everything you see, everything you hear disappears from your brain. And when we need you, we'll contact you." This is Generation Baby Lift. They saw I assimilated in Israel, and now I came back for my family. Those students you saw in the school, I have to tell you, were not just from Ambobar and Moleka. They were other tribes being filtered in that we had to make them feel normal. By you visiting those schools, by you talking to those kids, the other outside Ethiopian government and the Ethiopian community thought it was just a normal day. But as you're here in this hall and we're ready to go to the Sudan, you see this is a historical moment. 40 years later, I just got to say thank you to Tudor, thank you to Jackie, thank you to the museum for bringing me together with Malka Shabtai, the anthropologist, who helped me find Tirza. Her name is Tirza Edgar Bentaki. She is the one who actually did protect me. I did know she was from the Mossad. I did know it from my heart. She had told me 40 years later, when we met last year on my mission to Israel, she said, "Linda, you were an integral part by keeping quiet and having faith in me. But Linda, you were the only one out of the whole community, besides the Ethiopian Jews who knew I was there for them, who knew I was from Mossad. Everyone else agreed I was Ethiopian, speaking American." So all I got to tell you is sometimes when something's a matter of the heart, follow through. Israel followed through and brought them home. Thank you.
So it's interesting, the emigration from the highlands of Ethiopia to